and welcome back to my channel if you're new here. Hi, my name is Melleny. If you'd like to get to know me a little bit better, all my social media links will be down below in the description bar. So be sure to check that out if you'd like to see what books I'm currently reading, what my Instagram feed looks like. I'm super proud of it right now. It's gonna look bomb, that's all I'm gonna say. So be sure to check out the links down below. Today we'll be talking about the books that I read in May. This is a bit of a late wrap up, but I have started writing in my bullet journal. Do not look at the stain because it was my cat's fault, but I started writing all the books that I read down along with their ratings so that I can always have them in front of me. We're gonna jump in. The very first book that I have here is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I gave this 4.5 stars. I purchased this myself and I loved this book. I can't wait to keep reading the series, which I hope be soon. But I buddy read this with Abby the Bibliophile, whose links I will leave down below in the description bar as well, so you can check out her Instagram and social medias. So I really like this. If you want to see my review, it is always on my blog, which is always linked down below. The next book that I read was Dry by Neil and Jared Tristerman, the father and son duo. I didn't really love this as much as what I thought I would. I gave it 3 stars, and thank you so much to Pan Macmillan for sending me a copy of this book. I don't know, this book didn't grab me as much as what I'd hoped it will, and there was so much hype surrounding this book last year when everyone got BEA arcs, and I wanted to read it because everyone was like, oh, it is amazing. I found it okay. It was interesting. That's all I could say about it. I was then lucky enough to receive an arc of Again But Better. This was an e-art. I'll pop the cover over here for you. I did not like this book. It has nothing to do with, the fact that Christine is a YouTuber or whatever. It's none of those political things. I didn't enjoy the book because it was slow-paced. I found Shane to be super naive, super non-adulty, and I definitely didn't find the story believable, even though it was a contemporary with a twist of magic. The next book that I read was Radioactive Evolution by Richard Hummel. Once again, the picture will be over here of the cover. I DNF'd this one as well. This was sent to me by a publicity firm. I didn't like it because I think I'm not the biggest fan of sci-fi, but I enjoy sci-fi movies, and this was kind of an RPG sci-fi. It was an interesting concept. I'll 100% give the author that, but I found it very weird. I also felt like the book was quite dense. I didn't quite get far into it at all. I think I got like 10% in and I was like, I'm okay. It just wasn't for me at the end of the day. I then read The Secret Key, which is the first book in the Agatha Oddly series by Lena Jones. I loved this middle grade. I gave it 4 stars. Thank you so much to Jonathan Bull Publishers for sending me a copy of this book. I do have a review up for this at the moment, so if you'd like to see it, be sure to check out my blog. But this was a fun adventure taking place in the UK, in London specifically, and it follows a young detective named Agatha, and I just really enjoyed the storyline. I thought it was really interesting. And then for my uni course, I had to read Beowulf. This is the Seamus Heaney translation, or the 1999 translation of the poem, and I really liked this book. Surprisingly, it was one of my favorites that I had to do for university, and I gave it 4 stars. I purchased this myself and I really enjoyed it. I think it was a fun and interesting thing. So if you like epic poems or epic anythings, this is one of the books I would definitely recommend. It's a classic. Highly recommend. Easy read, 100%. The next book that I read was Able, an Agent Without License by Andrew Lane. This is the first book in the series. I DNF'd this. I just couldn't get into the story. I found the chapters long and like taking forever to read, and it just wasn't for me. After reading Able though, I read Consumed by J.R. Ward, which is one of my favorite books of the year. I think it's a fantastic read. If you like adult fiction with some romance thrown into it with a lot of action, this is the way I'd go. This follows a firefighter crew, specifically Anne, who was also one of the only female firefighters in her group from the 419, I believe, and an accident occurred and she lost her hand. I think that this book is really great. J.R. Ward just does a fantastic job with this book and I highly recommend it. I gave it 4.75 stars. The next book that I read was Bright Burning Stars by A.K. Small. I received this for a review as well. I think it was actually, I agreed to do a blog tour with the publishing house. I liked this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was good. It was like, I couldn't stop reading it. There was just something about it that pulled me in. This book follows 2 ballet dancers who are really good friends. They're best friends. And it kind of follows their journey as they each take separate routes. I think the best thing about this novel is the fact that the author was also a competitive ballet dancer. So what she talks about is almost from experience, or exactly from experience. And I really appreciate that, because I think, you know, it's so easy to write books about things we don't know. But when you know a lot about what is happening in that kind of career, it's very enlightening and makes for a really genuine and good story. I highly recommend this book, but please be warned, there is an eating disorder and several other trigger warnings that you should be aware of. After that book, I read Sea Fire by Natalie C. Parker. I got this in May and I read it almost immediately. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. I enjoyed the concept. The storyline was fantastic. The writing didn't pull me in though, and I struggled to connect with any of the characters. I just constantly felt aloof from the plot, but I'm definitely still interested in continuing with the series, because I think that I can only go up from here. And then because I definitely still wanted to read this book but wasn't able to for June, I decided to pick up Perfect Shadows by Brent Weeks. This is just a novella that's part of his Fallen Angel series, I believe. And for this, I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was really interesting, but I think the best would be to read it after the first book, after you've been introduced to the world, because this doesn't really introduce you to the magic system and everything. Instead, it's just simply the backstory of one of the characters that are in the novels. I then read Prachtige Piesangs by Elizabeth Lott and Liz Pichan. So this is a Afrikaans children's book, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. The reason why I took up half a star is because I did not like the ending of this children's book. I thought it was so anticlimactic, but I still really much enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it to anyone who is either starting off with Afrikaans or would like to teach their children Afrikaans. The next book that I read, I actually don't have right now because I'm lending it off to a friend, but that's Field Notes on Love by Jennifer E. Smith. I freaking loved this book. I gave it 4.75 stars as well. I love this. Is my first Jennifer E. Smith. I thought she was a fantastic writer. I loved the contemporary setting of the books. I thought she did a great job because I was so invested in their relationship, and I was constantly just like, what? I love it. I also love the fact that this was a slow burning romance. It didn't just happen like that. It took like a while to occur, and when it happened, it was pure, it was beautiful, and 100% worth the read. If you don't like contemporaries, I would read this one. This is a really great contemporary, absolutely fantastic. It follows a sibling who wants to be without his siblings for once in his life because he's always done everything with them, but he doesn't know how to say that to his family and his parents because he's unsure about how they would take it. And we also follow a young female character who has just been rejected from her dream program at the university that she really wants to attend. She got into the university but not the program, and she doesn't quite understand why, but throughout the story she kind of learns a couple of things, and I definitely think this is a really great novel. The last book that I read for the month was Switchback by Danika Stone. I'll pop the cover over here. I also received this book for a blog tour. I did this tour with Espresso Blog Tours, and I really loved Danika Stone. I read her internet famous book also for an Espresso Blog Tour, and I really enjoyed it. This book has an arrow ace main character, and I think that Danika Stone does really well. I really think that not only does it really explain what arrow ace means, so it's kind of like educative in that way, but it keeps you interested, and it kind of teaches readers to stop shipping everyone romantically and start shipping friendships. And I think that this book is absolutely fantastic. I think it was so interesting. I ended up giving it, I didn't put my rating here, but I ended up giving it 4 stars, I believe. I loved it. I did get a little long-winded at one point, but nonetheless, I highly recommend this book. Those are all the books that I read in May. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this video. Hopefully it was informative and interesting, but not too crazy. I never know what to say in my wrap-up, so please let me know what you prefer to hear and see in wrap-up videos, because I think that would just be quite helpful, because that way I can like make my thoughts and my videos more concise and a lot better to watch and easier for you to get into and see what books I've read and whether or not I recommend them. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you in the next video.